Hi, this is Michelangelo Badia with another installment of No Boundaries. We are multi-streaming like we've been doing for months, so it's on Facebook and YouTube simultaneously. This is a really cool lesson today because I don't talk about it that much, and I like to call it pentatonics. It sounds mean, it sounds metal. See, I could have said, yes, we are going to discuss the pentatonic scale and all its attributes and the different ways you can apply this to your superior play. But I thought this. I just like the name pentatonics. It sounds mean. It sounds like some course you would take at the university. Yes, I'm taking a course in pentatonics. It sounds like, what are you doing, studying the plates of the earth? And so, anyway, pentatonic scales. Now, I've gone over this in depth over the last couple of years about, when I was going to music school, what a scale was versus a mode. And the pentatonic is not really something that we spent a lot of time on in school. And pentatonic meaning five, like hexatonic scale would be six. There are five notes in this, and there is a major and a minor component to this pentatonic. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say hello to all the people that are online, and then we're going to get back to this. But it's going to be really fun today. Okay, let's see. Now, I have my shout outs here. There's a list of people, but I'd like to say hello to Tanya. Let's see, Alexis, Denny's there. Who else? Brett, Nick, Roxana, Sasha. I see Castle. I see David. Yeah, I see Roxana. Hello. I see Nikki. Yeah, I feel like this is the Mickey Mouse Club, and I see you, and I see you, and I see you. But see, the shred gods see all. The shred gods see all. The shred gods know all. The shred gods riff all. In fact, the shred gods are so fast. They're actually 5 seconds ahead of what we are doing now. So they know every name I'm going to call out before I even call it out. Okay, so seeing videos, the chromatic scale is the only scale. Somebody wrote something like that. Oh, somebody wrote, hi from Palatine. Palatine's not too far from where I grew up. I grew up around O'Hare Airport, so I'm very familiar with Palatine, Illinois. And hey, Sushant, how are you? I'm hoping... Sushant's from Nepal, Kathmandu, and I've been to Nepal several times. I absolutely love it there. Hopefully I'll get back there again. Okay, Brian, so there's a lot of people online. It's great. Now, let me explain a little. From watching the show every week that, I love to talk, obviously, and show a lot of things. And also, for the most detailed instruction, you can get my Metal Method programs, and we have a very special sale on Metal Method that I'm going to talk about a little later. But let's start with this pentatonic. Hey, Nick, how are you? Nick's a really close friend of mine. Hey, and he's a great graphics artist, great guitar player too, keeps me on my toes, and he's got a double which keeps me on both feet toes. And so anyway, let's talk about this pentatonic scale. And now, again, when I went to school and I learned, quote, scales versus modes, unquote, a scale resolve, that resolves, or like, this does not resolve. Now, it ends, but it doesn't resolve going from the dominant chord. They call it a dominant chord for a reason, because it's so dominant that it wants to lead your ear back to the root note. Okay, that's why. And then they have the 4 chord subdominant. See, it's like in church music, they called it a plagal cadence, like so you go 4 to 1. That's a plagal cadence. That was a religious way to end a song or end a piece, not a song. But in pentatonics, you have 5 notes. Now, what are those 5 notes? Let's start in A. That's it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you have A, C, D, E, G. Now, that would be a minor pentatonic. Now, if I wanted to make a major pentatonic, I can use those same notes and start on C. So it'd be C, D, E, then G, A. So now when you heard like early rock and roll, like that is the pentatonic scale, the major. Now when you hear basic things like, hey Matthew, how are you doing today? That is the minor pentatonic. Now, one of the masters at this is Eric Johnson. Another one is Zakk Wylde. I mean, he just rips on these pentatonics. Now, one of the ways that I always showed scales, whether it was the blues scale, the pentatonic, or the major scale in all the modes, is that Mississippi Queen, is that I showed the 5 positions. Now, there are a lot of ways. The beauty of music is that there are so many different ways that you can reach the same conclusion as long as it all adds up. Music is an exact science. For example, if I play this riff, which is mine, to me, that's 15/8 because the riff starts and it completes its phrase in 15 counts. But other people could count it a little differently. You could count it 4 measures of 4/8, okay? Or I'm sorry, not 4. You could count 3 and then add a measure of 3. In other words, and it's still correct. So there's multiple ways of achieving the same result and the correct answer. Now, here's what I thought with pentatonics, just like I think of everything. You can play every single note in every single position in 5 positions. Now, you see a lot of guitar teachers write out 7. You can see, I'm not saying they're wrong. They're not wrong. But I look at it like this. If you want to know every single note from this area, every single note that's possible in one scale or mode in this area, here, there are only 5 positions that can accommodate that. Then you repeat it. Now I'm going to show you. For example, if I was in the key of A, the minor pentatonic, first position. Second position. Third position. Fourth position. I'm sorry. I was just thinking to myself, darn, that sounds cool. Joey did it purposely. You know why? I did that? I'm the star of the show. Just to show you who's the boss, Angelo. Okay. And so then you have the 5th one. Now, people will say, okay, I'm stuck in a box. These are like boxes, bro. Well, I've said it 1,000 times. I'm going to say it one more time. Musical people find a way to make music. Now, what I highly recommend, and I have posted these 5 positions before, but what a good way to learn pentatonics is this. Just take 2 strings. And so like, you can rip on pentatonics, and you can also take it chromatically. I love to do this every once in a while. Sounds amazing. And so when you work on pentatonics, one of the things that makes it so good, it's very difficult to hit a wrong note when you're playing over this, because even if it is not theoretically correct. We're just so used to hearing it. And one of the notes that really messes people up in a scale is the fourth scale degree. For example, if you're like this, and I go like, while you're going, it doesn't sound good. And a lot of people like will nail that note. Somebody says, I hate scales. Why can't someone make it fun? Rich, I'm going to tell you something about this. You hate it, but you're the one that needs to be creative. You're the one that needs to make it fun, because he just wrote that. I hate scales. Why can't someone make it fun? Well, when you hear this, and I've used this as an example, to play a major scale, add some rhythm to it. If it's not fun or you hate something, you're the one that needs to be creative. I mean, it's kind of like when I said, I'm going to give you the keys to the Lamborghini. I can give you the keys. I can't make you drive the car, dude. You got to drive it yourself, bro. And so Jimmy Page said, okay, well, here's a pentatonic. So what did he do? He went, he didn't do too bad with that, or like, now you can add the blue note, or add scale tones. And so, but making things fun, and I'm not making fun of you, I'm just using it as an example because you want to be positive on this. Remember, musical people find a way to make music. And like I've said, when you practice these pentatonics, what we'll do is I have them written out on this post, and on YouTube, I'll post the 5 positions of the pentatonic scale. And so one of the first things I ever learned, I'm going to show my age a little bit, but John Peter Britton just wrote it. I think scales are fun. It's up to you to make something out of it. It's up to you. See, I'm giving you the tools. It's like bullets in the gun. I can't make you hit a bullseye on the target, but I can give you the ammo that you need to hit the bullseye. And I genuinely want to help. And one of the things that really helps when you're working, and I've said this before, but it bears repeating over and over and over, and I will never say it enough forever. When you work on scales or you work on practicing guitar, separate the two. Use exercises to practice the technique. Then apply it to a song. For example, say I was just working on an E pentatonic minor. And then I wanted to add a blues scale because I'm getting bored of playing those 5 notes. So I go. Now then I said, you know what? I'm sick of playing scales. There ain't no fun, bro. I'm going to do something different. What do? You work on a song. You work on something musical. See, that's the key. The exercises will help you get your technical facility up to par, like being in the game. And then what you do is you work on songs. Those 2 parts of your playing will merge. They will. You don't need to always say, well, I'm just doing something for the music, because there are certain things that you can play musically, but you might just be fuddling, you're just getting through it so that you can play the song. But if you work on the techniques, you start applying those techniques. Now, when I work on pentatonics, here's what I do. You sure? Oh. Now I add a little more. But when I work on pentatonics, what I do is I take the 5 scale positions. And see, or how about King Crimson? See that, and then they Robert Fripp's got a really cool song. It's all pentatonics. Like, I have to stop for a second. Somebody asked, how do you add chromatics to pentatonic playing? I do it every day of my life. But let's do this Fripp thing real quick. Like, so he goes. Then he goes. It's really cool. Now, when people say, how do you, I use chromatics so much. See, nowadays, a lot of people like to do these really wide intervals. And it sounds killer. See, what I did, for example, Hands Without Shadows, my song. Those are wider intervals, but chromatics, I love it because it's not. And so, for example, I can go like. See, it's kind of like Hendrix. And so you go. See, for example, in a pentatonic, what is a chromatic scale? Just every single half step there is. Like when I did the really fast solo for Freight Train, before I started it, when the quad is like, descending from the heaven. I used the chromatic. Like, and so what you do when you're playing chromatics is you can go. Now you've got from here to here. So like, what? It's chromatics. And so what you can do is chromatic. See, it's an interesting thing when I went to school and learned classical harmony, whereas like people like Rick Beato, who I love, he learned the more hybrid version. It's more like jazz theory and jazz harmony, which is, it's easier sometimes to understand nowadays. And in my way of thinking, I call a lot of it chromatic passing tones. See, we always had a phrase where we could analyze the most intense piece of music, but it always followed the rules of the scales and the church modes, which makes it in my brain very easy to understand. So what we would call these are chromatic passing tones. So what you would do is like, just adding a blue note there, that flatted fifth, to a pentatonic scale is a chromatic tone. And the reason why they call it passing tones, because you're literally going from one note to the next, using that as a passing tone or an interlude, connecting Jim Peterick, that wrote Eye of the Tiger, who I've worked with several times before, he calls it connecting tissue. And so, but that's not really a musical phrase that's known. That's just his phrase, but he's brilliant. He wrote Eye of the Tiger, enough said. And so, but you connect one to the other. And, I have all sorts of weird names like an appoggiatura. That's a non-chord tone. So now in jazz, you could say, areas I'm playing A major with an add 9. Now see, in classical harmony, they could say, well, it's an appoggiatura. It's an A major just with a 9th. No big deal. And so I learned the no big deal part of it. But I also understand modern harmony too, because it made it easy for me because of my background. But getting to it with this sound, watch. Pentatonics. And it's good because you can use fingers 1 and 4, the metal death fingers. These are the fingers of death to all non-metal believers. See, I just used chromatic passing tones. Yes. And see, what I did was, chromatics, I think Marty Friedman. Marty Friedman's amazing. Yes, of course. But you can't go wrong when you play pentatonic scales. And remember, there are only 5 positions on the entire guitar, but those where you can play every single note in each position in the scale or mode you want to play in. Now, there are a lot of other ways to think about this. And see, that's the beauty of music, but it's also something that makes it difficult to understand because many things are correct. And see, that's one of the difference in my methodology. See, a lot of times I have such, and I'll just say it, I have such an extensive background in music and music theory that I don't discount what other people say if it makes sense. But sometimes when people don't have that kind of background, they think their way is the way and everything is, oh, well, that's the old way to do it. Oh, that's this. But they don't really know. They just want to sell something, or they just want to, create something that is their, little pocket of the guitar playing, big shirt that's got a lot of pockets. I don't think of it like that because many things are right, and that's the key. But if you've got to figure out a way to think of it, and I used this phrase last week, paralysis through analysis. When you overanalyze things, you become paralyzed because you realize, I don't know enough. That happened to me in college. I mean, I was Mr. Metal Monster in high school and growing up. But then when I went to school, I'm learning all this theory and just so much information on music. I was confused at what I wanted to write. Like, I've got an idea. I want to write the jazz, rock, reggae, hip-hop fusion symphony, but a concerto to start off. And so, like, what? You get these things in your head, but then what happens is you do something long enough, it just becomes second nature. And once it clicks into second nature, like what happened to me, it all kind of fell into place. But I can say this, chromatics are just... I use chromatics so much in my music. For example, I have a song called I Do For You. Totally chromatic. Totally chromatic. This. So you're using... See, See, I'm using chromatic tones. But remember, practice the technique of the pentatonic scales. There's a major, for example, if I'm in E, like, you know, Leslie Weston, Mississippi Queen. It's a major pentatonic. Now, if I wanted to make it minor, I go. Now, if I wanted to add chromatics, and so that you get these sounds. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the guitars, and then I'm going to go back to this. But I just want you to know that I keep saying the same thing week after week, and I keep reinforcing it week after week because it needs to be reinforced. Because one of the things that happens is when, like, a person is playing, or you have something in your life, and you know, one week you're one day you're playing like that, and the next day you're like, you're like, I can't do nothing, man. I suck, bro. I suck. The world tells me I suck. I believe the world. I saw that criticism where the dude said I sucked online. I suck. It happens. Okay? Deal with it. But here's what I can tell you. Here's what I do. I'm like, do I really suck? No, I'm just kidding. What I say is this. When you play, you have to have a certain just faith. And this, I'm not talking religious. I'm not talking, you have to have this almost naive belief that you're going to pull it off. Don't worry about it so much. Paralysis through analysis. Don't overanalyze this because, I've absolutely, sometimes when I read comments about myself, I'm like, are you guys kidding? It's so far removed from reality, but here's why I know. If 100 people say, look it, man, you better change something, and you don't have anybody that says differently, maybe that's something. But when you're an artist or when you put your music out there, you are going to get a percentage of people that just don't like it. But you want that percentage that really likes it, and that's what perpetuates the career. I've learned a lot from people just telling me things online. I'm not perfect. I never strove to be a perfectionist. Perfectionism can never be attained. So why even pursue that? It's like Tom Morello would have said when he tried to compete like with me with speed. He said, it's a race I don't want to run. And why? He doesn't need to run this. But when you're feeling down about yourself, what the best thing to do is just remember that you're not competing against everybody else. You're competing against you. And if you have that faith, like I have this crazy faith in myself that it's going to be okay. Like I've had, I'm older. I've had just so many things happen in my life. Like people do, you live long enough, stuff's going to happen to you. And that's just life. But I wake up in the morning, I go, you know what, man? I'm doing a great live stream today. I've got good friends. I've got best friends. I've got great people in my life. And my fingers are working good because I've spent a lifetime of trying to be the best guitarist I can be and to help you in the best way that I can, which in turn helped me. Get that, Johnny? Listen, he's right. Because I feel pretty darn good. Why? Because I work at feeling pretty darn good. Even when I don't feel pretty darn good, I feel pretty darn good. What? So anyway, the point is this. Work when you're bummed, for example, if I was doing this, and I was really stuck on it. I'm like, oh, it sucks, man. I'll tell you what I do. I change the game. I'll put a drum program on. And you've seen me do this before. I go up to like 245. I've seen people do 500. And hey, if you can do 500 and play music, why not? I think anything over 200, 210, 220, you're going to be able to play 99% of all the music that's ever been written. But what I do is I have the faith that I'm on the right track because I'm doing it the right way and I'm going to get it done. And I picture in my mind, see, when I play shows, I don't say to myself, oh, bro, I hope like I do a really good show, dude. I'll tell you what I do. I have to be in a good mood. One of the things that people say about me for 99.99% of my career, I'll stop and talk to somebody, I'll sign an autograph, I'll take a picture. I enjoy being in a good mood. And Jim Gillette from Nitro was the same way. He was always in a good mood. You know, it's like we never argued. We had a really good vibe before we even hit the stage, because the last thing you want to be is angry or mad before you hit the stage. And you're like, ah! That only works if you've got a clear head and you can go, ah! When Joey's like, I will not take prisoners tonight. This is mine. And so what happens is my mindset is calm. If people have seen me on tour, seen me in clinics, I'm always in a good mood. But I don't just do that for you. I do it for me because I focus better. And it's the same when I'm practicing. Like sometimes, like I go through these regimens and I'll be really tired at night. And I'm like, but then I say, you know what, man? Then I'll put it back. Then I'll put it back to like 195 or 200. And I'll just reinforce the fact that I can pull this off. And so I leave it in a good mood. And it's one of my life lessons about playing. Look at my fingers. They're fast. They're really fast still. And it's not arrogance. It's mindset, and it's taking care of myself. Now, obviously, too, I've been a little bit lucky in the gene department, but I've told you guys, I had a light fall on my hand. I've got scars here. I've got a huge scar here where I got thrown through a window. I've had doors close on my hands, like limousine car doors, twice in my life. Not just once, twice. Sucked both times. And so, but the mindset is a big part of getting better on guitar and doing anything in life. But these pentatonics are so important. And, when somebody said, well, I want to have fun doing it, I can't teach fun. I can't teach fun. I can't teach interest. But what I can teach, actually, I can teach a little interest, because what I've always done, and Adam, that's here, that was my student, now the great video tech and guitar player, I showed him a long, long time ago what you needed to know and what you wanted to know. Because what you need to know will help you play what you want to play a lot better. So, chromatics, everything. You employ everything. Use everything you can. Keep your mind open. Open minds. I have a motto, always a student. As good as I can play guitar and as, much success as I've had in my career, I never think that I'm too good, that I can't learn something new. Because the day that I stop learning something new is the day that I become this. Back in the old days, it was so much better. Instead of having a cell phone with a GPS, I had to read a map. And if I got lost, I had to go to a damn payphone. And if I didn't have no change, I had to call mom and dad and reverse the charges. Does that sound so awesome? When cell phones were the size of car batteries. The movie Zoolander? Hello. Well, the car phones of the past were like dinosaur bones. Hello? And then you got charged if somebody called you. Was that awesome? Well, I still have the phone. I have the phone in my office to remind me, with the antenna being 2 meters frickin' long, 10 feet. Let's see, 2 meters, 39 inches. Okay, so we're looking over 7 feet long. And is that back in the old days? I'm not saying the old days weren't great. They were. They had Jimi Hendrix and Eddie Van Halen and, Bon Scott. So they were fantastic, but we're in great times now. But a lot of this is just the mindset. I will post these pentatonics now, But it's kind of one of the reasons too. My life is I have always have a method to the madness, and I enjoy I enjoy laughing. I enjoy having fun. And again, I'm going to defer back to Jim Gillette about this. Jim Gillette from Nitro is a walking, living death machine. He knows 8,000 ways to kill you in 30 seconds, and he's big. He's a black belt in multiple forms of martial arts. He's won all these world titles, and he could sing higher and lower than pretty much anyone has ever done in rock. And he looked cool doing it. And the reason I'm saying this is because I learned a lot from Jim. Like, we just used to have a good time. We had fun, like a good vibe. We didn't argue in rehearsal, going on stage, everybody, he was pumped up. It was like, come on, man. Yeah. It was positive. And so that mindset alone will make it much more pleasant for a person to just improve on the guitar. Because look, we all have things that happen. You wouldn't believe how many anniversaries of deaths that I've just gone through since the beginning of the year. And from my mother, and just, it goes on and on. That's life. Nikki Sixx said it best. You either get older or you die. What are you going to do? But I love to play guitar. I'm passionate about it. And I always try to figure out, how can I make this as good for you to learn, that helps me to learn myself. See, when I teach you, I teach me. And that's been the win-win for me all these years. It's amazing. Now, look at this guitar that I'm playing. I haven't even talked about Sawtooth. You know why? I talk about them a lot. They are amazing. Look at this guitar. Spalted maple body, dual humbuckers, Wilkinson trem, Wilkinson tuners. I have Wilkinson trems from the 90s. I knew Trevor Wilkinson. He makes great products, and these Wilkinson tuners are great. This guitar is in the $400 price range. Sawtooth is that good. And I mean, you heard me play this. It sounds great distorted. Sounds beautiful, clean. It is a fantastic guitar. It's a fantastic company, and we do things for the right reasons. They say, why would you do the right thing? Because it's the right thing to do. No ulterior motive. Well, that's what Sawtooth does. They make great guitars at reasonable prices because it helps you. And it's something that I was absolutely blown away by when I first met everybody. That, I've been designing guitars for a long time. I've had guitars designed by the greatest guitar luthiers on planet Earth, from Yuri Shishkov, who was a Fender master builder, who was so amazing, to Grover Jackson, the man Jackson, to Wayne Charvel, the man Charvel. I met Leo Fender. You saw the picture of me playing with Les Paul, where he looked at me after he saw me play the double guitar, and he goes, and I thought I invented everything. And so I have met the best of the absolute best of the best. And so it's not about that. When you have that, they were always great. I didn't really understand the manufacturing process, because when you have the absolute best, what do you care? They go, hey, great, awesome. And so what I found out with Sawtooth is that they are not only making great guitars and great products and drums and all sorts of other things, but their manufacturing expertise is better than anybody else. They know how to do it right. I've never in my life, until I went with Sawtooth, had a prototype guitar be worse than the production model. Usually it's the other way around. I get the prototype and it's amazing. I'm like, dude, it's rocking. It's like so awesome, bro. And then the production model, it's like, dude, did this guitar come with a hammer, bro, so I can hit the strings, dude? The action's higher than God, dude. And so, it's not that way with Sawtooth. It's the other way around. We get the prototype to work out the bugs, to work out the potential flaws in the manufacturing, and then the production model rules. Okay, so this is something. Look at that. I love spalted maple. let me tell you a little bit about the characteristics of the wood of spalted maple. I hate to tell you guys and girls this. Spalted means it's not a very healthy maple. Okay, it's a sick maple, but that means that tree would die and cut down. So why not make it into a guitar? So when you see these like dark ridges, that's not really supposed to be in a healthy maple tree. But here's the cool thing. One, you utilize that wood. Two, it's got that resonance of maple. Maple's got like a richness to it, but it's got a brightness to it. But spalted maple, these tops add this little bit extra brightness. So you've got this girth, you've got the thickness, but you've got the brightness. It just sounds fantastic, and I really, really like it. I think these are just, beautiful guitars. They sound fantastic. And with the Wilkinson Trem, it's non-locking. Now you can use it as a fixed bridge or use it, like a traditional tremolo, but you have the option to do that. And it's 24 frets of death, 24 frets of mayhem and destruction. So, and I like 24 frets. I mean, my motto, better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. If I want to go like, why not, baby? And so now also I want to talk a little bit about Metal Method. As you know, I've been with Metal Method a long time, and I think one of the things that you've seen with my career, I do not jump from company to company to company. I really have to believe in the companies that I use. Doug and I, the founder of Metal Method, have been friends, for well over 30 years. And we still continue to do innovative things. And I'm going to give Doug a lot of credit on this. He has redesigned the Metal Method shop because, we're people still buy DVDs, but they're very far and few between. But what Doug did is there's now like a streaming platform on the order form. And what we've done is it's been completely redesigned, and we put some of the programs into bundles. Now, in the beginning of this description, I'm going to read this here. You go to, now it's written there, so you don't have to just listen to me. You can click the link, it's active, learntoshred.com. We are offering a Speedkills bundle that's 25% off. It's the first 3 Speedkills programs. And then the Speedkills bundle is 25% off for only 2 days. And so you click on the link. It's a really great price. Now, also, we have another bundle, but that's also for 25% off called Beyond Speedkills. Because once we kill you, we have to kill you again. And so Beyond Speedkills, and that is available as well. I cannot say enough about the Metal Method programs, just as much as I believe in Sawtooth Guitars and just how great they are as a company and people. That's how much I believe in Doug and what he does. I mean, he's really a visionary, and he continues to be passionate about what he does. And, we had a funny phrase, but, the goal of Metal Method is simply, and I can't speak for Doug, but it's to give you a damn good lesson. And that's the point. We really want to help. And it is self-serving. It does self-serve us too, because I became a much better guitarist when I could explain to someone else what the heck I did on guitar. So, in recapping everything, pentatonic scales, I will post this on YouTube and Facebook, all 5 positions. The Speedkills programs go in depth about picking, about how to use different riffs, how to use different arpeggios. If you want, it's a very simple concept when you're practicing. There are 2 parts to practicing. If you think of it just simply, practice technique, practice music. The goal, you do not have to practice them together. When your technique becomes better, your innate musicality and sense of music and your own talent will bring that technique into the music realm, and you will merge that technique with your music. It's the way it works. So you don't have to overanalyze this stuff. I've already done that for you. And so just remember, technique, music, blend. Sometimes if you're working on a lot of technique and you hit a rut and you're bummed out, like I said, get your mindset back. Forget it. Work on a song. Why not? Work on a tune. Then come back to it. There's no law that says you have to start here and end here. I can tell you what I do, and I show this in the Speed Kills bundle. I have an exercise routine that I do about 10 or 15 minutes. I still do it to this very day. 20 minutes into it, MAB is flying big time. And see, because what you want to do is you're calibrating three things. Calibrating Joey, calibrating Robert, and your brain. And so once those three are in sync, it's kind of like the trilogy of Shred. And so once you merge those three together, then you're on the way to becoming, it's kind of funny. When I get a new guitar, I make a joke about it, but it's true. I kind of say to myself, I want to become one with this guitar. So, I'll play it up. I'll just mess around. Find the sweet spots like a... I'll find where does it sound better when I pick it? How does it feel? Do the notes sing? What does this guitar do? You want to become one with the guitar, like the sword in Kill Bill, Volume 1 and 2. I love those movies. So Uma Thurman kicks butt because she knows her sword. And so guitars are weapons. You have to know your weapon. Once you know your weapon, then you can feel comfortable yielding that weapon. And so, it's so funny because when I was with my former company, Dean, before Elliot, the owner, died, who, by the way, had an anniversary of his death. Like I said, I've dealt with a lot of death in my older age, and just in the beginning of the year, it's like one after another. But I always played the same neck profile. I always had the same type of guitar. With Sawtooth, it's so much different. We're using different neck profiles, different guitars. We're kind of boldly going, creating hybrid guitars, 7-string guitars with smaller scale lengths, using Fishman Fluence, doing matted finishes. Now matted is so popular. And we're not saying we invented it, but we started it over 2 years ago when nobody was using matted finishes. They weren't cool. Everybody's using them now. So, a lot of people are looking at us, because it's one thing to create a guitar that's really bizarre, but it's another one to create a guitar like a hybrid that actually works, that has 23 different sounds, and I've used it multiple times in the studio. It's a record quality studio sounding guitar that works perfectly. And so that's what we're doing. We're bringing innovation to you. And we're also doing things like, instead of using rosewood, which is endangered, we use sandalwood. Why? The moisture content is very similar and it's not endangered. You think of a spalted maple. Well, look at these maple trees would just die. So it wasn't our initial idea to use spalted, but we realized it's a good wood because the wood would be wasted. And so, and the characteristics of it really lend themselves to guitar. It's thick, it's bright. But these are things that we work on with Sawtooth to bring products to you that are just so reasonably priced, but are the best they can be. So remember, Sawtooth rules, Metal Method rules, and also too on the app, there's a 20% discount all the time. So there are discounts on everything that I've talked about tonight, but these guitars really are amazing. They sound great, they look great, they're lightweight, they feel good. We use woods that are not gonna, next thing you know, you're gonna hear that there's none left. It's, extinct. We're looking at a lot of different things when we build these guitars, but the one thing is the price point for you. Also too, Hurt. the song that I released with me singing vocals is available now worldwide on streaming services, Apple Music, Spotify, you name it. It's everywhere now. So, and check it out on my YouTube page. I have a lot of content on YouTube. Hurt's doing really, really well. I'm very grateful. I don't like to sing all the time. I consider singing a secondary thing that I do, but nobody knew I could even sing. And so, I felt it was time to try, but I can't say enough about Sawtooth Guitars. They are really fantastic. And I want to thank each and every one of you for listening each week. This is going on well over 2 years. And also, I'm going to be doing a pretty big tour of Europe coming up. I've got meetings this weekend. It's going to be a full band and new double guitar solo playing songs from War Machine Than Man. It's going to be really cool. About 40% of the show is brand new. The other is songs that I have to play, like No Boundaries and Tribute to Randy and Van Halen. But I really want to thank each and every one of you because I always have a positive mental attitude about things. But it's because of having great fans and having people that, tell me that it really helps what I do. Because I genuinely want to help and I genuinely believe in what I'm talking about. So thank you very much. I'm Michelangelo Badio. I'm Joey, the star of the show. See, Robert, just remember in the first Avengers, Bruce Banner, he's always angry. See ya.